Today's training is about how to get, how federal buyers are going to find small businesses like you. And one of the keys, right? I don't ever like to sit there and say this is the key, but one of the keys to success in the federal market and to getting found by federal buyers is visibility. You have to be what I call findable and attractive. Findable, your company, right? Your company has to be findable, meaning if somebody searches for what you sell, they can find you. If you're a plumbing company and they search for, leaky faucet or something, they find you. If they search for plumbing, they find you. If you're in cybersecurity, right? If they type cybersecurity, they find you. If they type risk management framework, they find you because you're a cybersecurity company. So that's findable. Visibility is findable and attractive. Attractive is what we call is matching the search intent. And the idea behind search intent is if they're searching for a plumber or if they're searching for a cybersecurity company, right? And they see your information, your marketing assets, et cetera. When they look at your company, it matches their intent. I was looking for a cybersecurity company. I was looking for a plumber. And now when I look at your company, the information you describe as services tells me you do this work. And where you say, hey, we worked with these other customers, that tells me you do this work. And in order to be visible with be findable and attractive, it all begins with having a clear, focused offer. That's just absolutely required. And you can watch a whole bunch of other training I do talking about how do you have a clear, focused offer. But a clear, focused offer really is that. My last company, we were SharePoint services, right? And I could expand on that saying SharePoint development, SharePoint migration, et cetera. But we didn't say we did all of Microsoft. We didn't say we did all of software development. We didn't say we did all of information technology, right? We didn't say we did all of everything. We said, hey, this is our area. That's a clear, focused offer. And when you have that, you're able to become findable and attractive. It's so much easier for your company to be findable and attractive and to match that search intent. I just wanted to end this beginning part with a quick story related to being findable, right? So there's a customer of mine out there, Laura. She's got an additive manufacturing firm, woman-owned small business. And because she went and had a session internally with her company and said, hey, let's make sure we have a clear, focused offer around additive manufacturing. And then because she went and did some of the things necessary on our marketing assets, she is now one of only 2 companies that come up when you go into dynamic small business search. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, but when you go into the dynamic small business search, which is the #1 government search tool, when you go in there, she's one of 2 companies that show up as woman-owned small business and doing additive manufacturing. So imagine if the customer was trying to go, I wonder if we could set this aside to woman-owned small business. You need to look at your own company and go, well, what do we really want to be found for? Her company is also one of just a small amount. There's like 300,000 plus companies, small businesses in DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search Tool. And her company is one of a very few that are coming up in this range. And when you talk to her team, they will say, we come up on other reasons or other keywords we want to be found for. And that's what I want you to be thinking about as you move forward on being found and getting visible with the customer. Okay, so let's move on. I just want to share with you what we're going to be talking about today, or I guess what I'm talking about, what you're hearing. So here, I'm just going to try to cover down on 5 main things in the 25 minutes we got together. So the first thing is I really want us to face reality, right? I want you to face reality and understand what the buyers want. The second thing is, just going with that, clearly this what buyers don't want. And there's a couple of added things I want to put in there for us to pay attention to. Then I want you to understand, before I go in and say how federal buyers will find you in 2024, number 3, I really want you to understand the process. Like, how do they almost physically go through this process of shortlisting small businesses to find the ones they might want to reach out to and talk to? And then so step 4 is where we dive into a whole bunch of ways that the federal buyer finds you. And I tried to put them in the order that they go. And then we'll wrap up with tips on how you can be seen when the buyer is looking for small businesses, how you can be seen before your competitors are seen. So that's what we got today. We're going to cover down on a lot. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where we provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, do me a favor, subscribe to the GovCon or the Government Contracting Success newsletter. So my newsletter out there, subscribe to this. A whole bunch of reasons on why, a lot of great information. But one example of what I would put into the newsletter is today's training. I could already see I'm going to be able to write it up into a post that allows me to put a couple of handout graphics in there that you'll see today. It also allows me to put a replay in there. And so if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you'll hear about it. The other thing is, thank you so much for everybody who's registered for training. We have over 200 people registered to attend today's training, which is huge. I think that's actually a record for me. We've been doing this 400. We've done 400 training videos in the last 2 years. And this is really exciting, but it's really helpful when you register for the training because it lets other people know. It also allows LinkedIn to kind of remind you and bring it back to the surface. And that goes to the last bullet I have here on the red slide or red box is invite others, right? This is a community. If you looked at my post today, earlier in the morning, I had asked, do you want to connect with 100 other people in the government contracting space? Just connect with them. I have 25,000 followers, and I'm not saying connect through me. I'm saying connect past me, but here's my network coming together. And so when you invite other people, you bring 2 friends, somebody else brings 2 friends. If all 200 of us bring 2 friends, that's a lot, right? And that's how we grow our community. That's how we're able to find people to work with, to get guidance from, etc. Okay, let's dive deep into the meat, and 22 minutes I got. So I'm tracking my time here really tight. So let's begin with just what buyers want. And by the way, if you haven't been to one of my trainings before, a couple of things. First off, I'm training based on my experience and what I do now with customers. I'm not trying to speak for one particular shop in the government, et cetera. I've worked with hundreds of buyers and many, many agencies on the defense and civilian side and IC, but mostly the defense and the civilian side. And what I'm sharing is the common information out there. So here, first thing I want you to just understand is that if you're trying to sell to the federal government, the first thing they want to know is that you've sold what you're trying to sell before. So right here, do you have proven experience? You know, if you have it in commercial, good. If you have it in federal, better. If you have it with their agency, that's perfect, right? That's what they're looking for. It does not mean they won't work with a brand new company, but that's not what they want. What they want is a proven company. They're looking for somebody who has done this before so they don't feel like they're taking the risk, which is the second bullet. They're looking for companies that come in and can be risk reducers, which the opposite of is introducing risk throughout their agency, right? They don't need you to come in and learn how to do what you're doing in their agency. There's ways to do this, subcontract, for example, where you can build experience. If you're a newer business, if you're under $3 million, personally, I would recommend you subcontract all day long. Get experience, get the security clearances, get an understanding of an agency. And it goes back to this proven experience. When you subcontract, you can say, hey, I've subcontracted in your agency. It's not the same as priming, but it still is proven experience in their agency, and they'll appreciate that. And then the third bullet here, mission accomplishers. So if you think about risk reduction is, I don't want somebody to introduce risk. In fact, I want you to come in here and help us lower the risk even more. Well, mission accomplishers, which again, I'm not totally sure that's an actual word, but the idea is a company like yours, a person like you who can come in and help them execute on their mission, accomplish their mission, right? I was in the Army. When I'm downrange and the Rangers, we're out in the woods somewhere, I don't need somebody coming in who can't help us execute on the mission, who makes excuses up here or doesn't have the ability, right? So we need somebody who can help us accomplish the mission. I've got a mission as a machine gunner, but then there's a mission at the battalion level, there's a mission at the Army level. And when you come in, what the government is looking for, what agencies are looking for, is your ability to come in and help them accomplish their mission. You do not provide IT services. You do not provide construction or facility services. You provide and you contribute to the success of the mission, right? We are all part of their team. And so it's something important to keep in mind is that when they're buying from industry like us, they're looking for us to come in and help them accomplish their mission. I put here agency raving fans because apparently today I was having fun with my bullets. But the idea of an agency raving fan means that you care enough about my agency that you've understood it. You've downloaded my strategic plan and you've read my goals, my long range goals and the objectives and the action items we've laid out to where we're trying to go. You've downloaded my annual report from the previous fiscal year so you can see what we've accomplished. You've gone to OIG in our agency and downloaded our key management challenges so you understand the challenges we're facing. When I see that, then I'll see in the discussions I have with you that you're a raving fan of my agency. And so I say that the federal buyer is looking for somebody who actually wants to work with them, actually takes the time to understand their agency, not somebody who just bids on agencies randomly, right? Who wants that? I want to feel like you care about my agency. Number 5, I guess I could have numbered them, financially stable. So what buyers want is a company that's financially stable. And fundamentally what this means is they want to make sure you can handle a 30, a 90, a 90-day or 180-day lull in getting paid. What if the government doesn't pay you on time? They want to know that you have the financial stability to go through this so that you don't have to lay off your employees because you can't pay them, or you don't pay them and they quit, because that impacts the mission. That's a risk. But if you have financial stability, then there's pretty much no risk for them losing the people who are on the job while they work with you to get the payments done. Of course, they should pay you on time, right? Personally, I think they should pay you in 15 days. It's not that hard, right? But they want to know you can go forward. I do a whole separate training on this. I'm going to do a lot more in 2024, but getting financially stable is not that hard when you're a prime contractor with a contract. You know, people aren't trusting you at that point. They're trusting the government contract. So it's fairly easy to get the money. And then the last one is they're looking for contract holders. Again, this is a little out of order, but what buyers want is somebody who already has a contract, is already on the contract vehicle that they're using. So an example is the Navy. If you look into the Navy, they've got Navy Seaport Next Generation. And what the Navy would prefer first is somebody who's on that contract vehicle. They don't have to go through this brand new negotiation. They just go through the contract holders that are on there. So keep that in mind. This red box, I really put down this idea that, of course, they'll work with anybody, right? Sometimes they do, and sometimes companies slide in. But what they really want, they have a type, right? Just like anybody else, we have a type. Their type is a proven company that will help them accomplish the mission with minimal risk. And that's where we want to be. And you want to keep that in mind as you move forward. Okay, do me a favor, actually, before we go too much farther, let me know, which agency are you trying to get into? This is something I'm really trying to understand, is if you're trying to get in an agency, how can I find more material to help you? How can I find more people to bring to you? For example, somebody in the Army as a buyer, bring them in for podcast interviews, or even on this training, I just bring them in. But I want to do this based on the agencies that you're interested in, not just random ones I pick. All right, so I said what agencies want, or what federal buyers want, and what they don't want is pretty much the opposite of everything I just said, right? That makes sense. But the other thing is they don't want rookie businesses. They're not looking for brand new businesses. Yes, of course, they might bring somebody in, but even when they bring a new business, like DHS, I think is the one that likes to give themselves the most credit for, hey, look how many new suppliers we had this year than we had last year. That's cool and all, but what they're really looking for is new suppliers who have 3 years of subcontracting, right? I'm not speaking on behalf of DHS, but my point is they're not just trying to say, hey, look, somebody just registered in SAM. We gave them a $5 million contract. That's not what they want, right? So they're not looking for rookie businesses. And the way you get past being a rookie business is you subcontract and you learn and you make money. And you can subcontract for $5 million. You'll make a lot of money doing this, but you'll also learn and become valuable to the federal agencies. I did a whole set of training last week on the stages of growing from subcontracting to prime and the 3 ways to make money, or the 3 revenue streams to make money in the federal market. Go watch that if you feel like you might be more of a rookie business, that you're making certainly less than $1 million. Go watch all those and make sure you're tracking. And the last bullet that I put here is a really important one for me, is that no buyers, not even in your home, right? No buyers, and certainly no federal buyers, want to work with a small business who sells everything. If you sell everything, then what are you good at is the thought, right? But if you sit there and say, I sell SharePoint, or like Laura early in the training, I said she sells additive manufacturing. Graham Technology, I think, is on here, and they do what I call deaf communication access, or American Sign Language, right? Those are specialties in niche down. And you can watch a ton of training where I teach you how do you niche down, but don't be a general construction company, right? Come down to I paint, and don't just be a painter, but I paint inside. And don't just say you paint inside, but you do trimming. That's what we're really good at, right? I think I might be coming down a little too nichey there, but that's the idea. When you niche down, you become very good at it, one of the best. And this will tie into what I recommend you consider going forward. Okay, so let's talk about how they find people like you. and how federal buyers find businesses like yours. So this is a shortlisting process. Pretty much we all do this. You can think of that swiping left and right. You're just looking at a bunch of stuff in the middle and you're saying yes or no kind of thing. And so I was trying to use this example of how federal buyers do it by looking at a recruiter. If you go to get a job and you send your resume in for an opening, but they're looking for somebody with an engineering degree, when the resumes come in and there's this huge stack of 100 or 1,000, et cetera, they get a ton of these resumes. When the resumes come in, they start swiping left for any resume that doesn't have a degree, right? Doesn't have that engineering degree. No. Oh, here's one. Yes. It doesn't mean I'm hiring that person. It just means they have a degree. They don't have a degree. The federal government, by the way, it's the same way they look at proposals. When a proposal comes in and it's supposed to be 25 pages and yours is 30, you're swiped. They don't even look at the proposal, right? You've been non-compliant. You're moving away. If I'm looking for an engineer degree and you don't have it, you're non-compliant. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're not compliant with what I'm looking for. And so that's shortlisting, right? This ability to take a bunch of resumes here in this example, or when you think about small businesses, there's 300,000 plus of us out here. When the government is trying to find buyers, they're shortlisting and they're looking at many different ways to shortlist. I talk a whole separate training on this and how the buyer does that. So you can watch that in my replays. But fundamentally, think about this, like they could be filtering down. In DSBS, I talked about this, the dynamic small business search, the number one search tool the government uses to find businesses like yours. They could search on the NAICS. Show me anybody who does 541, 511. Or searching on tags. Show me woman-owned small businesses that do additive manufacturing, right? And that goes into that third one. They could be searching on keywords. That's the one that I personally believe that buyers search on. If you search on NAICS codes, you're going to get 10,000 firms coming back. But when you search on additive manufacturing and maybe filter by woman-owned small business, you're getting 2 companies. When you search on Nintex, which we helped another company do who does SharePoint, when you search on Nintex, you get 9 companies that are 8A, but you'll get 1,000 companies that are SharePoint, which is related, right? And so you want to be able to understand this shortlisting process so that you can prepare your marketing assets and in DSBS in particular so that it fits that way. This slide here, I did a whole training last week about the federal sales lifecycle. I did this on Friday, so today is Monday the 8th. The only reason I put this up is I just really want you to understand when I say, how will federal buyers find you in 2024? I just want to say, when do they want to find you? So if you're looking at my graphic here, it's got a roadmap, and right here in the middle is the RFP phase. The buyer is no longer looking for you. So they're looking for you to the left. We call this shifting left in the process. We're shifting left back when they were doing market research and even exploring. So for today's training, I just wanted to really quick say, in the formal phase, they have a market research phase where they reach out with RFIs or sources sought, and they're looking for industry to participate in dialogue, or they're looking for industry to say, yeah, we're interested in responding. And so just understand when are they looking, and now I'll begin to show you just different ways they look. And I put down step by step because basically they do it this way. First thing I want to say is a reminder, I'm speaking on behalf of hundreds of thousands of federal buyers. There's not one person, one shop out there who's got a standard, right? There's a general way the government does it, but every shop is different. And so I'm not trying to say this is exactly how one person does it. Just keep it in mind that I've worked with tons of contracting officers in many agencies, and basically it comes out of this. So this is a good thing to follow. One of the things I put in here is one VA medical center is what it stands for, but one VA hospital is the thing I like. When I supported the Department of Veterans Affairs for like 10 years, there was this line that we used. When you've seen one VA hospital, you've seen one VA hospital. There's 150 hospitals in the VA. And the idea is every single one of them should operate the same. Maybe Alabama and California have a little different flair, but they should operate the same, just as like McDonald's, right? No offense to us veterans who are getting medical care, but we should be able to come into a hospital, and this is how it works. And every hospital is the same. But what they were saying is when you've seen one VA hospital, you've seen one VA hospital because they all kind of do whatever they want. And in government contracting, it's kind of the same thing, right? There's there's rules that say how you must do your job. But how you do your market research, there's no rule on that. There's just a rule at the end of what you're reporting. There's fairness, things like that. But my point is the order, the process, every person kind of does it different. Every person, even in an office, does it differently. And now we have this transition of baby boomer type contracting officers retiring out of the workforce, and a lot of Gen Z and millennials in there. And so they're people who do it a little differently, right? They're totally comfortable with social media, et cetera. Okay, so second bullet here, let me just walk through this process pretty fast. It begins with the buyer, right? The federal buyer, generally it's the contracting officer's team, says, hey, I got a need. Let me go find a vendor. And the first thing that they do, and remember, nobody can put an exact list. So this is a really good list. First thing they do is they look around the companies, the incumbents who are currently serving them, walking the hallways. They look over and they say, hey, Tammy, we got this need. Can you guys take care of this? Oh, yeah, we got a contract vehicle worth, $5 million. We just slide that on as a task order, whatever, right? Whatever the conversation is, I don't care what the conversation is. My point is the first place they look is incumbents. If they can give something to an incumbent, that makes the job so much easier. Plus, they're giving it to somebody who's a valued, trusted vendor, right? Partner. Second thing they might do is look at contract vehicle holders. Like I said, Navy Seaport Next Gen is a Navy contract vehicle. So they might look right there and say, these are the contract vehicles we want to use. Before we look out to the whole world, let's look right here at these contract vehicles and these contract holders. So HCAT, for example, HTCAT or HCAT, somebody put it in, doesn't really matter, but that's got like 20 or 40 vendors. And Seaport Next Gen's got like 2,000 contract holders. And so they have a lot of room to find vendors. The third place they'll go is, so they don't find what they're looking for in the first ones, they look to number 3, which is, let me go see who's responded to RFPs. The reason I want to go there is because these people have written proposals to previous work that we had. Let me go see if they're interested in writing another proposal or having conversations or whether I can engage with them on market research, right? So I have this list of people. I have to formally track it. Same thing with number 4, right? Number 4 is not as important as number 3 because number 4, the government goes and looks for RFI or sources sought respondents. So if they put out a notice and said, hey, we're looking for people to respond to our requirement in this market phase, sources sought, RFI, those people who respond are saying, yes, we're interested. The difference is the people who wrote RFP responses are the ones who said, yes, we're interested. And by the way, here's our proposal. Because often what happens in the government is sometimes people express interest, but don't show up to the party. So number 5, if they don't find, and by the way, this is past. So when I look at 3 and 4, I'm just looking at who's responded in the last year, let's say. Number 5, personal favorites. And so, and I say that softly, but the idea is, if people are sending me capability statements or I know of this firm, et cetera, then I've got this hard drive folder that I'm storing those capability statements in. Or I got a spreadsheet where I'm just listing out small businesses I've seen at vendor outreach sessions or whatever. And so I might look at that personal favorites list. It's nothing, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing mean. It's just their way of organizing it, right? They're contracting shop and goes, hey, we've got all these interested people. Think about it like an interested vendors list, if you will. The next one, number 6, is they might just turn to their friends to the left, to the right, and say, hey, to other contracting officers in their office, do you have anything or do you know of any vendors who can kind of solve this requirement before I start reaching out in a formal way? By the way, if you don't know, CO and KO just stands for contracting officers. KO is in the military because CO stands for commanding officer. Number 7, agency vendor list. So this is where you look at like HHS. They've got a supplier portal. There's DSBS, the federal government's, and then HHS maintains its own. And so in there, only a fraction of the same people who are in DSBS are in HHS. And so the HHS buyer might go, well, let me look here before I ever look anywhere else. Let me look in in our supplier portal. The people who have specifically come to my agency and said, I want to work with HHS, and let me register. That's different than the ones who register for SAM saying, I want to sell to the government. So number 8 is the one I'm talking about, SAM, Dynamic Small Business Search. That's the main place where all of us register. You registered your business. And so if they don't have an agency portal or they don't find what they're looking for, they move to DSBS. Then number 9, they move into the formal, right? They go out and submit a market research sources sought or RFI notice. You can learn more about those separately, but they're putting it out into SAM, let's say, and they're saying, hey, everybody, is anybody interested in this work? That's how they find us. And the last 2 ways is referrals, right? They reach out to the PTACs, the SBA, et cetera, and they can try to find people. I know I'm running out of time, so I just want to blow through this last 2 slides here really quick. I wanted to give you tips on how you can rise above your competitor. First thing is just embrace social selling. I told you that millennials and Gen Z are really becoming the bulk of contracting staff and acquisition personnel within the government. And so embrace social selling. That basically means your website, social media, etc. Be omnipresent means be everywhere. Make it easy for them to find you. An example of that is bullet number 2, right? Be in the 100+ supplier portals. We talk about DSBS, we talk about HHS, but there's 100 other portals that are both agency and large primes. When you're in there, let's say you just do one a day, 100 days, you'll be in 100 supplier portals. How would that impact your business if you were in 100 different places where buyers might look for you? Those are 100 different places. You don't have to knock on their door. They can see your profile and maybe come to you. And then respond to RFIs, right? And so in this case, I talk about respond to as many RFIs as you can, but keep these 3 pieces of guidance in. Only write to your core competency. When I was writing to my last company, we were SharePoint. That's all we wrote to. We didn't go out on the side. And then make sure every response is highest quality. And the way I describe highest quality is that last bullet. Write to win, to be memorable. If you write a really proposal level response to an RFI, you're going to be memorable to the program office staff and to the contracting office staff. So here's what I want you to remember as you're walking away. And I know this is fast paced. You can watch the replay. But the first thing is just don't blame the government and the federal buyer for not finding you, right? Take responsibility for not being found. And the reason is because when you take responsibility, you're in control. If they're responsible for finding you and seeing you, then you have to wait till they take control and do something for you to get found. But if you take responsibility, then you're in control of making sure your dynamic small business search is squared away, that you're writing RFI responses, that you're reaching out and saying, hey, here's my capability statement. Not spamming, but just contacting them. So anyways, take that away. Hopefully this makes sense. I am going to put this together as a blog. So anybody who likes the slides and likes them in order, just make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. And that's where you'll see all of this, all the slide information, etc. If you're at this stage of $1 million+ and you're interested in our help growing in the federal market, just check us out on govconchamber.com/workshop, and you can see our business development accelerator workshop. For all of us, as you move forward in your day, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.